Hello and welcome to the Her Sports Show. Joining us today is Mairéad Baker, who plays water polo for Ireland. Mairéad is also a mother of 2 kids and is a pregnancy and postpartum specialist. Today, we dive into the recent success of the Irish women's water polo team at the Home Nations tournament, water polo as a sport in Ireland, and challenging the norms as a mom in sport. Let's get into it. Mairéad, hi.
Hi.
So, can you just quickly give everyone a quick explanation? What is water polo?
Water polo is an aquatic sport, so it's played in women's water polo is played in a 25-metre all-deep pool, 7 aside, so 1 goalkeeper, 6 outfield players, and you have 6 subs on the bench, and it's a really fast-paced ball sport in the pool. You swim up and down, holding possession and try to score a goal. That's it, yeah.
Okay. And in terms of positions, what positions do you have?
So we have a goalkeeper, we have a centre back, a centre forward, which is my position, and then you have 4 drivers, so basically 4 outfield, midfield players that swim up and down.
And if you had to describe what the role of your position is, how would you describe that?
So I am centre forward, so it's the person who either draws an exclusion or gains a penalty for your team, or hopefully a goal scorer, so one of the top goal scorers on the team.
And then last month you represented Ireland at the Home Nations tournament in May, where the Irish women's team came first. So well done, that's really
Thank you very much.
achievement. Leading up to this tournament, what was the training schedule like?
So training this year for the Irish team has actually been really good. In years previous, or when I've been involved with the squad before, it hasn't been as good. But this year we kind of had like one big session every month. So we were in the National Aquatic Centre on Sundays usually, and we'd spend about 4 or 5 hours together as a squad, either having team meetings and then training in the pool for 3 to 4 hours at a time.
Okay, wow. And this was also the first time that the Home Nations was held in Dublin, and the first international water polo tournament in Ireland in 10 years. The team thrashed Wales and Scotland, as you could tell from the score. And on day 2 of the 3-day tournament, you played England, and the score showed that it was a really close match. How do you think the team managed to swim away with a win?
Hard work. Keeping our composure, I'd say, was the biggest thing on that day. We were fortunate on the Friday that we played first, so we played Wales first on the Friday evening, and then when we were dressed and changed, England were in the pool playing Scotland. So we managed to grab 2 quarters of that match, and we saw how they played. So I guess from watching them play the day before, we knew that it was going to be a close encounter. We kind of had time to regroup then and meet either with the management and amongst ourselves, and sort of say that if we knuckled down and fought hard, that we probably thought we stood a chance against them the next day. So it was kind of bringing that mentality into the Saturday and keeping it for the hour of the match, and it fortunately managed to pay off for us.
Yeah. And do you remember how you felt when you realised that the Irish women's team had won the tournament?
I suppose it was probably after that match, that England match, and even before that, I suppose nerves were probably building from halfway through that match, because I kind of knew that if we kept going the way we would, that we were playing, that we would win, or that we could win. And then the score reflected like a goal difference, but we were actually 2 goals up with about a minute to go, which would be hard for any team to come back from. In terms, like, you have 30 seconds of possession, so they would have had to regain possession twice and score twice. They obviously did manage to regain possession once and score to bring it to within a goal, but I guess I kind of started to realise in the last minute that we'd beaten England, which was huge, and that all things gone to plan, we should have beaten Scotland on that Sunday, so that we'd actually won the tournament. So there was a great buzz, while also trying to remain calm that Saturday, that we knew we had a match the next day, but there was an amazing buzz, and the management were really good at, like, they brought us all together, and they weren't shy of telling us of how big an achievement that was at that time, but that we still had to play the next day, so to seal the deal.
And what did that achievement mean for the team?
I think it was massive. It was huge, obviously, first off, that it was at home. We're a minority sport as well, so it's not a big sport. So there was great exposure from Swim Ireland and Water Polo Ireland. Like, they put it out everywhere, and it was great for us to see that. And then like it's just great going forward. Like there were so many young Irish water polo girls in the crowd that got to see that, which was just fantastic.
And yeah, also I think leading up to that as well, and even after the tournament, I personally noticed there was not much media coverage when you guys actually won. Why do you think that is?
It's a small sport, and I think it's just hard to break through into that space. We're lucky that there are people like her sport, and there are some, like, I suppose, influencers and stuff that do take notice of these things, but as a whole, like, it's really hard to get through to mainstream media and to broadcast your sport. And I suppose as players you have so much going on, it's not up to us to do that. On top of it, like, you have to concentrate. There's only so much. I know the girls put stuff out on their Instagrams and it's great, and you have lots of local support, but it would be way cooler if it was more well known and more rewarded when you did win something as big as that.
Yeah. And just chatting a bit more about water polo in Ireland. So do you have like a bit of insight into how many people are playing, and does water polo in Ireland receive any funding?
Yeah, so we're under Swim Ireland, so we do receive funding from Swim Ireland. We're one of their like aquatic sports, so they obviously have swimming, diving and water polo, so we are part of that. So we do receive funding from them, and then Water Polo Ireland is a branch under Swim Ireland, and they would obviously dictate how the funding is spent and stuff. In terms of how many players, I'm not sure. There are definitely less women than men playing, but there are 5 teams in our Division 1 National League, and there are probably 6 or 7 teams maybe in the Division 2 National League. So it is a small sport, but it's growing, and it's consistent as well. It's one of the oldest sports probably in the country, so it's there a long time, and it isn't going anywhere. Like, we might never be huge, but we could definitely be bigger, and it's not going to disappear.
Okay. And then just going onto into your journey. So when did you start playing water polo?
So I started when I was 11. I actually swam in a local pool here in Glasnevin, and the swim teacher that I had recommended that we either join a swim club or start water polo, and my mum said absolutely no way was she getting up at 6 a.m. to bring us to swim club. So water polo happened to be after school every day, so that was the obvious choice for me, and my brother started at the time.
Okay. And did you play any sports before you got into water polo?
Yeah, so I would have played a lot of sports growing up, tried everything: Irish dancing, tennis, camogie, football, all those things. I kind of stuck with camogie and water polo till I was 18, and then since then when I went to college I just played water polo, and then when I was 20 I picked up CrossFit as well.
Okay.
So I've been doing just CrossFit and water polo ever since.
Okay. And when you actually decided to rather just stick with water polo, what made you make that decision?
So I went to university down in Maynooth, so it came a point where I obviously couldn't play camogie for my local club anymore because I was gone down to Maynooth. And then I think you reach an age as well where if you're going to take a sport serious, you're going to have to lie into it. So for me at that stage, a lot of people have a swimming background in water polo. I didn't come from a swimming background. I obviously took swimming lessons as a child, but in terms of swim club or dedicated swim areas growing up, I didn't have any of that. So my skills would have been there probably in water polo, but my swimming stamina and stuff wasn't there. So I guess when I reached 18, I kind of realised, okay, if I'm going to do this, I have to put in the hours that all the swimmers have put in for years and years, to try and get better at just that one sport.
Okay, cool. And now I've heard some stories that some ladies might get a little bit intense during a water polo game. There might be some poking happening underneath the water and all of that. I know for me as well, so I went to school in South Africa, and I remember once I had one of my friends who played water polo. She somehow managed to get out of the pool with a tear in her swimming costume. Don't know how that happened. The opponent clearly must have had something else that caused that tear. So yeah, have you had any experience with
all the time?
Yeah.
So it's an extremely physical sport. It is it's contact. You are, if you can imagine it, you're wrestling in the water. So you have to be confident enough in your physical capabilities to, number one, stay up in the water, and then number two, to hold off an opponent in the water, which is probably quite remarkable for most people, in terms if they're not comfortable in water. Like most people probably aren't confident enough to tread water for an hour, let alone tread water while chasing someone and drowning someone. The togs, yeah, your togs get ripped a lot. You're wearing tight costumes and people are grabbing them and they just rip. They were wear and tear, and then also, yeah, people definitely just purposely rip them. Your nails are checked before every match, so the referee will check the length of your nails. Okay. But people still get away with it. And then, yeah, another big thing is like people wear fake tan in the water, and then that gets really slippy. So like you're trying to swim beside someone and like you're slipping off them. So like that's kind of cheating. Okay. So the referee might, if you can tell the referee if someone's nails are really long, or they'll see marks on you. Still, and they'll instruct that person to cut their nails in the middle of the match, or they might instruct them to towel down, so they'll have to remove whatever moisturizer or tanner is on them before they're allowed re-entry into the water.
Okay. Have you, or would you say that you, if you had to think back, like what was the, I don't want to say most intense injury, but have you ever played a match and then you came out and you did have quite a serious injury from an opponent?
Never anything too serious. At Home Nations, when we played England, I got pretty badly like beat up in my arm. Like a girl literally just came and twisted my bicep. Oh, wow. So that was pretty badly bruised for like 2.5 weeks after. It was one of those rotten ones that went green. But other than that, like I've been lucky. There wouldn't be any. I think the men's game is actually a bit more physical in that way than us. Like I've heard accounts of like people gouging people in the eyes and stuff in the men's match. Whereas I don't think that happens as much in women's sport. But there would definitely be, you'd get a few knocks every match. Definitely in my position anyway. I think if you're a driver, you're a bit safer. You can swim outside. Okay. Whereas I'm a bit of a sitting duck in there, so they're coming for me.
And when did you start playing for the Irish women's team?
So I remember going for my first trials for the Irish team when I was 13. There was an under 17 Irish team travelling to Crete. It was that time they were actually going travelling to the Europeans. And I remember being devastated that I didn't get on. So I had no right to get on, obviously. Yeah. But I think I made my first age group Irish team the year after that. So I think I was under 14, and at that stage, so the way the underage Irish teams work, they travel to a thing called the ASA regionals in the UK. So obviously the UK is much bigger than us, and water polo is a lot bigger over there as well. So they group into regions and play, and Scotland and Wales also enter as one region. So Ireland, Scotland and Wales enter the ASA, so the inter-region competition in the UK, and the UK obviously then enter as like Midlands, East Midlands, all their sort of groups. And so I would have travelled to that from the age of 14 onwards.
Okay, yeah. That's really cool. And obviously COVID came and just turned the world upside down. How did it affect your squad's training?
So COVID stopped water polo completely, obviously, as you can imagine. Even when the other aquatic sports like diving and swimming could return, it was very up in the air what could happen with water polo, because obviously it's so contact. So I think aquatic sports probably returned that September, and I think we were held off for maybe another month or two when Swim Ireland kind of got rules in place. And then the rules that kind of came out were we could train in pods with our own equipment, which doesn't work when you're a ball sport and you obviously have to share balls. So it's kind of like it didn't really happen at all in 2020. And then obviously lockdown happened again, and it turned back to just elite sports, which we weren't categorized in at that time. And then I think 2021, then when things started to relax again, it kind of came back. But there was a full probably 12 months, really, the guts of 12 months, where just no water polo happened at all, unfortunately.
And how did you maintain your own personal training during that time?
So I got pregnant.
Okay.
That was kind of it. Like for me, we had kind of already planned on having a kid the year after that. So when COVID happened, it kind of brought that forward a small bit, and we just kind of said, right, let's go for it now when the world and our sport seems to be in shutdown. But other than that, we did keep training. Like I still stayed involved with the team, and I actually took on the coaching of the team in terms of the Zoom stuff. So we we trained like 3 times a week, and especially our youths, so like our under 18s, we set them up with like gym programs and kept them as active as we could through Zoom and through online coaching, and just prayed that everybody would show up when the pools reopened. And it was a glorious day when they did.
And what were some of the challenges that your teammates faced?
I suppose being a team sport, it's quite isolating to then go and train on your own. And then also being an aquatic sport, like I mentioned, a lot of the girls come from a swimming background, so they're used to purely aquatic sports. So now you're asking them to learn how to train on land alone at home. Like, it's very difficult. And then the younger you are as well, the more difficult that entire concept of why you should stay fit and how it impacts your mind and physically. It's harder selling that to the younger girls on the team. You know, I think in a way the older girls kind of fared a bit better. They could get up and manage their day and understand the importance of staying active, whereas the younger girls, like, it was just tough on them, you know. But
yeah. And also in 2020 you started Thrive and Revive. Can you tell us a bit more about that, please?
Yeah, so Thrive and Revive is my coaching service, I suppose. It's my passion. It's basically a coaching service I set up with pregnancy and postpartum in mind. So it is coaching women to thrive through pregnancy and revive afterwards. And I suppose in a general sense, it's whoever wants to come on board and whatever that looks like for you. But in a more specific sense, I suppose I target it towards people who have athletic backgrounds and would like to maintain their training throughout pregnancy, like the way I did, and to come back to a higher level of sport postpartum if that's something that they choose to do.
Okay. So you started it then while you were still pregnant yourself?
No, so I actually started it before I was pregnant.
Okay.
Yeah, so I coach at a gym called CrossFit Sanctuary, and over the past, I suppose it's been open like 8 years now or something, and I suppose at the time, I think it was like 2019, it kind of got to a stage where I could see that the members were kind of gearing towards getting pregnant and like getting married. All those sort of like life things were happening to a lot of the members in the gym, and I was the only female member on the staff at the time. So I went and started to explore, how does this look like? What does this look like? What should we do for women when they do get pregnant? Because obviously they were coming into the gym and they were like, we're pregnant, and it's like, yay, great. Well, we don't really know what to do. So it's kind of was like, okay, it was out of necessity up there that it's like, okay, well, someone needs to learn what we should do. So I went and did the qualification that we have here in Ireland to become a pregnancy and postpartum certified coach, and took that course and kind of quickly realised that was not accurate or right, or like it didn't give me the answers that I wanted as a coach. It was very much a tick the box kind of way when you go in and your spin instructor says, okay, does anyone have any illnesses or injuries that I need to know of? And then it's like, no, okay, right, tick, 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 and it's like, get on with it. Like, rather than, okay, I have an athlete in front of me who's like a CrossFitter, I know they train 6 days a week, they're coming to me now, they're saying they're pregnant. What can they do, and like what does the next 9 months look like for them? What does it look like after birth? How can I get them back to here if that's something that they want to do? And I kind of just wanted more answers, so I started looking then to the States. There's a couple of big certifications over there, so I took those two, so Girls Gone Strong and Pregnancy and Postpartum Athlete by Brianna Battles, and I just started to learn more and more, and it's kind of like opened a whole can of worms, and then Thrive and Revive came.
That's really awesome. And yeah, because Neve did mention that you told her you had the ambition to get back to playing in the water for Ireland after you had your baby. So what were some of the challenges that you faced when you started training again after your pregnancy?
Just how absolutely different your entire world and life is after having a baby. So I had 2 babies. I had my first baby in January 2021, so still in the midst of lockdown. I had missed no water polo from when lockdown had first come about, or COVID. In March the year before, I hadn't missed anything, and then basically I very quickly fell pregnant again. Yay. And I did manage to play water polo throughout that pregnancy, or like swim, and I obviously stayed fit and stuff. But March 2022, so last year, I had my second baby, and that's kind of when I said like, okay, I want to give this a go again. I want to get back to where I was in this sport. I want to be one of the best in the country again if I can. And then I kind of realized that there was a lot of obstacles in my way to do that. Like, first off, obviously you have 2 tiny humans at home, so your life is completely different. You kind of wonder like, what on earth did you do with your time? Because I don't know. And if anybody knows, they can let me know, because I don't know what I wasted my time on before. But I had loads of it, and now I don't. So that's one big thing. And then I suppose physically, especially when you're an athlete your entire life, you rely on your body. Like, you wake up and I know you feel sore, or I know you feel this way after a match, or your heart rate rises, and it's like, but it's completely different. Like, I cannot describe, like, you think your body can do these things and you try, and it's just so humbling to realize like, no, you're at square zero. I'm sure it's the same if anybody's had like a serious injury, that they kind of maybe realize how much they took their body for granted before. But I suppose it's really empowering as well, because you realize like every little milestone that you reach in your postpartum journey, you're kind of so grateful. And I know that for me, I did say that like, I would love to get back on the Irish team, to make it back into that starting 7, to make it so that I have an impact in those big games like against England. And that was always like this pipeline dream. But I was also so grateful when I ran a mile again for the first time. Like, I just actually sat on the gym floor, and I was like, there's a picture of me on my Instagram, I'm like, oh, one. Like, I just could not believe that like I had grown these 2 humans, I had birthed them, and then like my body was so distraught after that, and that I was able to rehab it to a point that I could run 1 mile. And I know that sitting on that gym floor that day, it sounds so stupid, but like, I was like, if this is the last sporting goal that I've reached, I am so grateful. Because like, at home I have these 2 amazing children that are so cute and insomniacs, but like, they're just amazing, and like, they bring you so much joy. And then like, to be able to do even the small things, like, I think it made me so much more grateful for what my body could do. So like, I've smiled more in my training in the past 13 months than I ever have before. Like, I enjoy everything, because I'm like, wow, I can do this. Wow, like, look how cool this is. And like, it's made me push myself so much more as well. So like that, like, getting back on the Irish team, or even making it back to a level at club level where I had an impact, you know, it was challenging, but I suppose it was rewarding, as much rewarding as it was challenging the entire way through. So,
and do you also remember, because you obviously need to have a really good mental game as well. I mean, mentally you need to be strong in that sense, because there may be some days, I could imagine, I've never been pregnant, but like, I can imagine that getting back into training and everything, like, maybe some days you had set a specific goal for yourself, but you didn't necessarily achieve it on that day. So yeah, just mentally, how was that for you?
Yeah, like, that is tough, but I actually think that is easier. I think in the past, before I had kids, I probably would have felt like I fell short on goals more than I do now, because now I think the goal is always just to do what my body can do tomorrow. So, and that changes, and that's not a thing of like, I'll be better in a year now than I am now, because anything could happen. Like, I could get a phone call now and I have to leave, and those 2 kids come first. So it's a thing of like, tomorrow it mightn't go to plan, but that's because my priorities aren't tomorrow's gym plan or tomorrow's water polo plan. Like, that's not the priority anymore. So I think that actually takes away a lot of the pressure from training. Like, I would have always been really, really hard on myself if I missed a training session, or if I was 10 minutes late. And for the first time in my life over the past year, now I haven't missed much, but it was like, okay, I'm playing on Sunday in the NAC at 2:00. And it's like, well, if something happens at 11 o'clock on Sunday morning, one of the kids gets sick, I'm not playing on Sunday at 2:00. And it no longer became a thing of like, I'm attaching guilt to that, because there is no guilt, because they're the priority. And whether my coach has a snarky remark, he wouldn't. But if somebody did, or somebody else on the team said, well, you're 10 minutes late for this practice, that no longer would affect me the way it did before. And I would have put so much pressure on myself to always be there, always be on form. Whereas now it's just like, no, I'm going to give you everything I can when I get there, but it mightn't be the best version every day of me. So I think it's mentally a little bit easier for some reason.
But I think it's also so cool what you mentioned there as well, because I think we also just live in a world where, especially women, we tend to just compare ourselves to each other so often. And I think that also can really affect for athletes as well. It's just like, okay, I'm trying to match that athlete's level, or I'm trying to, I don't think it's a bad thing to sort of aspire to maybe play like someone, or to get to the strength level or the endurance level of another person. But I think it's so cool that you were able to sort of just focus it in on yourself. And because then I think in that process, like you said, you see the small victories as well, which is really, really cool.
I think taking inspiration is the thing you have to do. Like, so if you see other people, like, you're taking inspiration from them, so be that on Instagram, or like for me, I'm so lucky, like the gym that I'm in, that there are women who had kids before me, and like I see how strong that they've come back and stuff. And it was just like, okay, like I can do that. And it's not I have to do that or I have to beat them, but it's like, hey, well, if they could do that hard thing and be a mom, then I can do that hard thing and be a mom. And that doesn't even have to attach itself to a goal like that, but it can be like, hey, if they can come to the gym 3 times a week and be a mom, then I can go to the gym 3 times a week and be a mom. And that doesn't have to look like the exact same session for them and me, but like it's that thing of like, I'm taking inspiration from literally anything that will work for me to get me there and to get me that little bit better again.
And you sort of touched on it already, but if you had to give advice to other moms who would like to balance training and motherhood, what advice would you give?
So you can do it first off. You can definitely do it, and it's worthwhile doing it. There's that thing that I'm sure everybody's seen. It's like, you have to, as a mom, you have to pour into yourself first, and that's not being selfish, but I know that when I get to training, that when I go back, I'm so able to focus on the kids then, and I'm so better able to prepare for the next day and make everything, like, sure everything's in running order for the kids, because I've given myself the hour of training. And that's all I do. It's like 1 hour training a day, and it's like, you can do that. And then I also think it's having a support network that understands that. So having, like, for me, obviously it starts at home. Like, I'm so lucky that my partner, like, knows that I'm a priority too. And then, like, I think that's going to have a knock-on effect. I have a son and a daughter, but like, it's going to have such a knock-on effect for them, that they know that in their house, mommy and daddy's sport are of equal importance. So it's like, that's important. And then we're lucky that our families, we're both water polo players, so that our families kind of row in and understand the importance of that we are a sporting family, and that's important. And then also that you're coaches, like, so I'm so lucky that the 3 coaches I have, so I have 2 coaches in the gym, and then I have a coach obviously in water polo, and like, that they understand as well to know to kind of push me to come back and come training and to improve when I am there. So build your support network.
And why would you encourage young girls to play water polo?
Because it's so fun. Honestly, like, I suppose it is fun, and like, it's physically challenging, and like, that's so rewarding. But for me, like, definitely the biggest takeaway is friendship. Like, my best friends all play water polo. And now they all do CrossFit. They all left water polo. They're old like me. I'm just hanging on in there, but the rest of them. But I think that's a really good reason. Like, it's just the friendships you build. And even now this year, like, I was by far the oldest person on my club team this year. Don't want to mention, but there were 3 girls doing their junior cert on our senior club team this year, which is just remarkable. Like, they are 3 phenomenal young athletes, who've just pushed their way into the seniors scene already, which is like remarkable, like beyond words. But just seeing their friendship even, and like, I kind of was sitting there at the senior cup this year going, I'm so jealous that they have the next 15 years of their lives together, having all the fun that I had. Like, so much team spirit, and like, you know, just getting to hang out with each other, and like, they've all this time to like grow up and learn together. And like, when you're attached through a sport, like, you learn so much about like a wide variety of things, because you're all going to go off to college and do different things, or you're all going to pursue different careers, whatever that looks like, but you're all going to come back and this is your focus, like this water polo thing. And like, it's so fun, especially anybody who's into swimming. Like, swimming's like obviously an individual sport, whereas water polo kind of marries that part of individual sport, swimming, like with a team aspect. So you really kind of see people, like especially swimmers, stick around way longer when they play water polo, which is just great. So come down and try.
And how, if you think back on your like sports journey as well, if you want to call it that, how has sport contributed to the woman you are today?
Massively. Like massively. It's shaped everything I've ever done. I think that, like what you touched on a while ago, like that mentality, like I kind of know that I can do hard things because I've played sport, and that comes down to like playing tough matches. That comes down to getting up and going training, maybe when I didn't feel like it when I was younger, or all those things. And that's helped me. Like I'm not maybe overly excellent at other areas, but I've worked hard in those areas, like maybe school and stuff, that like I've probably done better in those things than I ever deserved to do, because I had mental toughness from sport, which is kind of cool to look back on and think, well, that had a big impact. Thanks, Mom, for sending me to the pool.
That's really awesome. And in terms of women participating in sports and girls, why would you encourage other women and young girls to be involved in sports?
I just think it's so important. Like, you've no idea. The more, I suppose, I've learned, like over the past few years, like I trained as a PT 8 years ago, and started working in the fitness industry then. And then fell into CrossFit exactly around the same time. It was actually 9 years ago this summer. But I suppose, like, I even think back on my PT cert, and it was just like everything was men and women did the same thing, and men and women trained this way. And now the more I've learned, and obviously having gone through it physically as well, postpartum and birth, but everything, like, I cannot. Okay, it's important for men to train and exercise, but like women need to do it. Like, we just need to, and that has to start from a young age. I think the rewards that come from it, like in terms of positive body image, like physically, mentally being healthy from just participating in any level of sport. And there's a sport there for everybody. Like, yes, I'd love you to come play water polo. Yes, I'd love you to come to CrossFit. But I mean, like, go do something. Like, there is something for everybody. Go find it. Try everything for a month. Like, just to give 1 month. That's 12 things you could try in a year. Surely one of them will be enjoyable enough for you to stick at it. Stay active. I don't care. Do YouTube dance videos at home. Do TikTok videos. I'm not on TikTok, but like the kids love them. And like, they look like physical activity, but just do something where you're moving your body. And like, that will just change how you think about your body. And like, for women, obviously, if you are older and watching this like me, when you're going through like bigger life things like pregnancy and postpartum, like, you realize the value obviously of being physically fit during those periods. And then also, like, we're all a way off this in here in this, but going through perimenopause, menopause, like, that's kind of my area that I'm diving into at the minute. Like, again, because the gym demographic, it's not necessarily there yet. We're maybe a little bit younger. I don't want to call anybody out, but we are all going there. Like, we're not, no, none of us are avoiding it. And then even like circling back from that, like the amount of women who have found that exercising has helped them with other like things like endo and PCOS that like aren't mainstream or aren't talked about enough, but like they found that exercising is helping them with that, like, and even balancing your hormones, like everything. Exercise helps everything. Like, so find a way that you can do it and start young and keep going. And if you stop, just go back. It's fine. Like, life has seasons, like things stop, like, and that's a big thing in pregnancy and postpartum. Like, people have all intentions, maybe they train through their pregnancy, the baby gets here, and then they can't find the time, and that's okay. Like, just because you haven't gone for a year, it's not that you're not welcome back in any sport. Go back, like, go find an exercise class that works. Go find somebody who's going to tell you, who's going to come looking for you next Tuesday to come back. Like, just find something, find somebody. Like, it doesn't matter how long you've been out of it for, it doesn't matter how you used to perform. Like, I know for athletes, a lot of them probably are like, oh, I couldn't do that now because I used to play at this level and I'm not fit now. And like, that's a big stigma attached to being an athlete, is that like you aren't as athletic as you were before for whatever reason. Like, that does not matter. It doesn't matter. Like, it's way worse for you to sit at home and do nothing. Like, it's so important just to exercise and find something you love.
Okay. Thank you so much. I don't have any other questions, but I feel like I can go run now because that was
Go
really
do.
inspiring.
Go running. Yeah, is that what you do, run?
Yeah, that and
Good.
hockey also a bit of. I tried CrossFit.
Good. Well, try again because we're all different.
I
Or
did
try-
enjoy it.
Yeah, no,
but,
like seriously, find anything. But like running even is so good, and like you don't have to run fast. Like, and that's the thing. I was actually so bad at running my entire life, and like my sister is really, really good. She's like, obviously she's Dublin Camogie, like, and my best friend is Dublin Camogie too. So like they're like these amazing like on-field athletes, and like I would always think in my head like, oh, I could not run with them, like, and then I got pregnant and I stopped running, and then I had my baby and I started running again, but this whole attachment to like I have to run a 5k in 30 minutes, which I could never do, was gone because I wanted to run that 1 mile. And I didn't care if it took me 12 minutes. I was like, keep your legs moving one in front of the other and go. And like now I like running because it no longer has a time attached to it and no longer has a distance. It's like, oh, I have 30 minutes, I haven't exercised today, I'm going to go for a run. And it doesn't matter. I don't even need to wear my watch because it makes no attachment to the successes haven't gone for the run. So go run.
I will do that. Thanks. Thanks for tuning in. We hope to see you again for the next episode. Be sure to subscribe to Her Sports social platforms to get the latest women in sports content.